You're running out of time. Not in some dramatic movie scene way, but in reality. Every scroll, every distraction, every meaningless argument is quietly draining the most valuable currency you'll ever own, your life. Seneca warned us centuries ago, you act like mortals in what you fear, and like immortals in what you desire. You fear death, but you live as if you'll never die. You waste hours chasing attention, approval, and comfort, while your potential sits there, untouched. Ask yourself honestly, how much of your life has been spent thinking instead of doing? Reacting instead of reflecting? Scrolling instead of creating? The Stoics were brutal, not because they were harsh, but because they refused to lie to themselves. They didn't sugarcoat weakness. They didn't glorify excuses. They called things what they were, and acted accordingly. Marcus Aurelius didn't say, "Feel ready." He said, "Get active in your own rescue, while you still can." Epictetus didn't tell you to manifest success. He said, "Don't explain your philosophy. Embody it." They lived by rules that cut deep, because comfort was the enemy of growth. They knew, peace doesn't come from pleasure. Freedom doesn't come from control. Success doesn't come from luck, it comes from discipline. You say you want change? Then stop wasting what you can't get back. Stop negotiating with laziness. Stop pretending you have time. This life, right here, right now, is all you get. So this is your wake-up call. 10 brutal Stoic rules. 10 truths that demand change. They'll challenge you. They'll offend your comfort. But if you live them, really live them, they'll set you free. Because peace isn't passive. It's earned. Change doesn't begin when life gets easier. It begins when you finally get honest. When you look in the mirror and stop lying to yourself. We keep saying we want peace, purpose, and discipline. But in reality, we want comfort disguised as growth. We want progress without pain, transformation without sacrifice, and wisdom without work. The Stoics knew better. They didn't wait for the right moment, they made it. They didn't chase motivation, they built systems. They didn't cry about the world, they trained themselves to endure it. Epictetus was born a slave. Seneca was exiled. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire while fighting illness, betrayal, and war. Yet all of them lived with strength, serenity, and focus, because they practiced one truth. You cannot control the world, but you can always control yourself. That's the essence of Stoicism, not emotionless detachment, but radical self-mastery. It's the art of meeting life as it is, unfair, unpredictable, imperfect, and still standing firm. When Marcus wrote Meditations, he wasn't writing to impress anyone. He was writing to remember, to remind himself how to stay calm when everything around him fell apart. He was fighting his own chaos, just like you are now, with thoughts, discipline, and perspective. The world hasn't changed much, only the distractions have multiplied. Now, your battlefield isn't the Roman Empire. It's the digital one, full of comparison, temptation, noise, and endless wanting. And if you don't train your mind, it will destroy you, not through failure, but through slow erosion. You'll scroll your life away, complain your time away, think your potential away. But the Stoics left us a weapon, a way to live with clarity, strength, and direction. They called it philosophia, the love of wisdom, and it was never about reading. It was about living. So here are 10 brutal Stoic rules, not for comfort, but for transformation. They'll demand more than motivation. They'll demand discipline. But if you live them, truly live them, they'll change everything. Rule number 1. Stop negotiating with your weaker self. Every day, you fight a war within yourself. One side seeks comfort, ease, and excuses. The other side demands growth, discipline, and truth. Which side wins? The one you feed more. The Stoics called this internal struggle prohairesis, the power of choice, your inner fortress. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. But most people never find that strength, because they keep striking deals with their weaker self. That weaker self whispers in your ear each morning, sleep a little longer. You've earned it. It tempts you at every challenge, take the easy path. No one will notice. It comforts you in failure, You tried your best. You deserve rest. It sounds kind. It sounds logical. But it kills potential slowly, one reasonable excuse at a time. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short life, but that we waste much of it." Every negotiation with weakness is a wasted moment. Every compromise corrodes your will. You don't lose the war in one battle. You lose it through small surrenders, delayed action, skipped workouts, ignored goals, avoided conversations. Weakness doesn't conquer, it convinces. The Stoic doesn't argue with weakness. He recognizes it and acts in spite of it. He doesn't wait to feel ready, because readiness is an illusion. Epictetus said, "Don't explain your philosophy. Embody it." That means doing the hard thing when every fiber of you screams to stop. When you choose discomfort deliberately, you grow stronger than the comfort that once enslaved you. The weak self wants safety. The strong self seeks challenge. Every disciplined act is a declaration. I am not a slave to my impulses. Stop negotiating. Stop reasoning with resistance. You already know what you need to do. You just don't want to pay the price. Do it anyway. Write when it's inconvenient. Train when you're tired. Speak truth when it's risky. Act before you feel like acting. Marcus Aurelius never asked if he wanted to get out of bed. He reminded himself, "You were born to work with others, to act, to serve." Purpose doesn't wait for motivation. Discipline doesn't need inspiration. So, the next time your weaker self whispers excuses, don't listen. Don't debate. Move. Each time you do, you reclaim ground from weakness. You prove that your will is still your own. The war never ends, but you can win every day. Rule number 2. Detach from praise and criticism alike. The world runs on validation. People chase likes, applause, compliments, titles, as if these things define who they are. But the Stoics saw through this illusion centuries ago. They understood that the moment you begin to need approval, you surrender control over your peace. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man on earth, wrote in his journal, "Not for others, but for himself. It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." He knew the trap of external validation and refused to fall into it. Most people live in a mental prison built by others' opinions. Praise makes them feel worthy. Criticism makes them feel broken. Their emotions swing with the wind of others' words. That's not freedom, that's slavery. Stoicism demands something harder: indifference. It doesn't mean arrogance or apathy. It means emotional sovereignty, the ability to stand centered while the world praises or condemns you. Seneca wrote, "He who seeks approval is a slave, he who ignores it is free." But freedom has a cost. You must let go of both the pleasure of praise and the sting of criticism. You must train yourself to act not because others approve, but because it is right. Ask yourself, would I still do this if no one saw me? If the answer is no, then your motive is polluted. The Stoic lives by internal standards, not external applause. He is guided by principle, not popularity. Epictetus taught his students, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. To grow means to risk misunderstanding. To stand for something real means to stand alone, sometimes mocked, often doubted. But that's the test of character. When you detach from both praise and criticism, life becomes astonishingly quiet. The noise fades. You stop performing and start being. You no longer need to chase validation because your actions validate themselves. Marcus Aurelius faced constant judgment. Generals, senators, philosophers, enemies, all had opinions. Yet he wrote nightly reminders to himself, don't be overheated by praise or dejected by blame. He knew what mattered: virtue, integrity, purpose. The rest was background noise. Here's the paradox. When you stop caring about validation, your work improves. Your focus sharpens. You start creating, not for applause, but from authenticity. You stop bending to trends and start following truth. That's when your voice becomes powerful, because it's no longer borrowed from the crowd. Every time you act just to impress, you weaken your self-respect. Every time you act according to your values, regardless of what others think, you strengthen it. Freedom begins when you stop asking the world for permission to be yourself. You will be praised unfairly. You will be criticized unfairly. Neither defines you. What defines you is the consistency of your character, how you act when no one is watching, and how you remain unmoved when everyone is. So, stop performing. Stop explaining. Detach. Do good silently. The noise of the world can't touch a calm mind anchored in purpose. Rule number 3, stop seeking comfort. Seek clarity instead. Comfort is the silent killer of potential. It seduces you with ease, numbs your drive, and convinces you that peace means softness. But the Stoics knew better. Comfort is not peace. Comfort is decay in disguise. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, yet he slept on the ground with soldiers during war. Epictetus was a slave, yet he trained his mind to remain free. Seneca was one of the richest men in Rome, yet practiced sleeping on the floor to remind himself that luxury was an illusion. They all shared one truth: the more you run from discomfort, the more fragile you become. We live in a time obsessed with ease, instant food, instant pleasure, instant validation. We scroll endlessly because stillness feels unbearable. But Stoicism whispers a different message: don't run from difficulty. Run toward it. Because clarity is not found in comfort, it's found in confrontation. When you confront pain, fear, or uncertainty, you meet the truth about yourself. Comfort hides your weaknesses, discomfort reveals them. And only what is revealed can be strengthened. Epictetus said, "Difficulties show what men are." That's not poetry, that's law. The gym for the Stoic mind isn't a physical place. It's life itself, every rejection, every failure, every silent night where nothing goes your way. Each one is a training ground for the soul. Comfort tells you, stay safe. Clarity tells you, grow stronger. Seneca warned that the man who lives delicately becomes a prisoner of his pleasures. The one who embraces challenge becomes unbreakable. You can't control what happens, but you can control whether it weakens or sharpens you. The Stoics practiced premeditatio malorum, imagining everything that could go wrong, not to invite fear, but to build peace. They rehearsed loss, pain, exile, until these things lost their power. Because when you've already made peace with discomfort, the world can no longer control you with it. Ask yourself, when did you last do something uncomfortable on purpose? When did you last say no to an easy escape? Growth begins the moment you stop running from the fire and start walking through it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." The obstacle isn't blocking your path, it is your path. Every struggle you avoid will return stronger until you face it with courage. When you start seeking clarity over comfort, life changes. You stop asking, "How can I make this easier?" and start asking, "What can this teach me?" You begin to trust pain as a teacher, not an enemy. Peace doesn't come from a soft life. It comes from a strong mind. And strength is built in discomfort, in saying no to distraction, yes to discipline, and standing calm in chaos. The Stoics didn't chase comfort. They chased character. Because once you master yourself, no comfort compares to the clarity of knowing you can face anything and still remain unshaken. Rule number 4, don't react fast. Respond with reason. The world rewards speed, quick replies, instant opinions, immediate outrage. But the Stoic doesn't rush. The Stoic pauses, watches, thinks, then acts. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If someone can prove me wrong, I will gladly change. For I seek truth, not victory." That's not weakness, that's mastery. Because the mind ruled by emotion reacts. The mind ruled by reason responds. Most people are slaves to impulse. A comment online, a rude message, a disagreement, and instantly, anger burns. We defend, attack, or withdraw. But reaction is the art of the untrained mind. It's emotional autopilot. Stoicism calls you to something higher, to remain calm while everyone else burns. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." The modern translation. You can't control the chaos of life, but you can control your interpretation. Every time you react without thought, you hand over your peace to someone else. Every pause is a reclaiming of power. The Stoics practiced a simple discipline. Delay your reaction. Don't answer in anger. Don't reply while triggered. Don't make decisions while emotional. Breathe. Observe your feeling without judgment. Then respond with clarity. Imagine your emotions like waves, fast, loud, and temporary. Most people surf the wave and crash. The Stoic watches it rise, watches it fall, and stands untouched on the shore. Seneca warned, anger, if not restrained, is more destructive than any enemy. And that's true today more than ever. Online, outrage is a currency. People build their identities around reaction. But outrage is easy, control is rare. When you slow down your reaction, you reclaim time, and time reveals truth. That angry message you wanted to send? After 10 minutes, it feels unnecessary. That argument you wanted to win? It no longer matters. That insult that stung? It loses power when you stop feeding it with emotion. A Stoic doesn't suppress emotion. They understand it. Suppression is fear. Understanding is freedom. You don't need to fight every battle. You don't need to respond to every opinion. You need to master the space between trigger and response, because in that space, your peace lives. Marcus called it the pause before passion. A sacred moment where logic takes command and ego stays silent. It's not that Stoics didn't feel. They felt deeply, but they refused to be ruled by feelings. The Stoic strength lies in this inner calm, a mind that chooses reason over rage, wisdom over noise. Next time someone provokes you, don't give them your reaction. Give them your silence. Silence is power. Patience is dominance. Control is the ultimate rebellion in a world addicted to instant response. The slow mind wins because it sees clearly. The calm mind decides wisely. The rational mind stays free. And that's the Stoic way. To pause, to think, to act from strength instead of impulse. Because reacting fast might feel powerful. But responding with reason is power. Rule number 5. Stop seeking validation. Approve of yourself first. There's a quiet tragedy unfolding every day. People living their lives as if they're auditions. Every thought, every post, every move. Waiting for approval that never truly satisfies. The Stoics saw this weakness centuries ago. Marcus Aurelius warned, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." What a brutal truth. We spend our lives chasing the applause of strangers while ignoring the voice within. Look around. The modern world is built on validation. Likes, shares, views, followers. A digital scoreboard for self-worth. But here's the paradox. The more you chase approval, the emptier you feel. Because external validation is a bottomless pit, and your peace was never meant to live there. The Stoics believed in an inner fortress, a place inside you that no one else can touch. That's where your value resides. Not in others' praise, not in comparison, not in numbers, but in virtue. Virtue means living in alignment with what you know to be right. It means acting from principle, not popularity. It means choosing integrity even when no one's watching, especially when no one's watching. Seneca said, "The approval of those who cannot even approve of themselves is worthless." Think about that. Most of the people you try to impress are fighting their own hidden wars. Their judgments are not reflections of truth, they're projections of pain. The Stoic doesn't seek validation. They seek clarity. They don't ask, "Do they like me?" They ask, "Did I act with wisdom? Did I stay true to my values?" That's real power, the kind no one can give or take. Because when your worth depends on the crowd, you're their prisoner. But when it depends on your conscience, you're free. Marcus Aurelius led an empire, and still wrote reminders to himself not to be swayed by praise. Why? Because he knew what most people never realize. Admiration is fleeting, but self-respect is eternal. The Stoic builds self-respect like a craftsman builds his art, slowly, deliberately, through daily discipline. Every time you choose principle over popularity, you strengthen your inner fortress. Every time you act with honesty, you reinforce your walls. Every time you stop explaining yourself to people who don't understand you, you reclaim your freedom. You'll never control what others think. You'll never make everyone like you. But you can control your effort, your values, and your response, and that's enough. So stop performing. Stop waiting for applause. You don't need to be seen to be valuable. You don't need validation to have worth. Approval is a moving target, but virtue is steady ground. And when you finally stop seeking validation, you'll discover what the Stoics always knew. You've been enough all along. The greatest peace isn't found in being admired. It's found in not needing to be. Rule number 6. End the war within. Master your inner dialogue. The loudest voice in your life isn't the one outside, it's the one inside your head. And most people are losing that battle before their day even begins. You'll never make it. That's not truth speaking, that's conditioning. That's years of comparison, criticism, and fear echoing in your own thoughts. The Stoics understood this internal warfare better than anyone. Marcus Aurelius wrote his Meditations as conversations with himself, a private battle to master the voice of chaos. He wasn't writing to the world. He was writing against his own mind, because he knew, until you control your thoughts, you'll never control your life. The Stoics taught that your perception shapes your reality. It's not the world that makes you miserable, it's your interpretation of it. The mind can turn heaven into hell, and hell into heaven. So, the work is not to silence the mind, but to train it. Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Think about how many hours you've spent reliving old mistakes, replaying arguments, or predicting disasters that never came. That's self-torture, and you're both the prisoner and the warden. The Stoics' way is to interrupt that cycle. When a negative thought arises, pause. Ask, is this thought helping me live better? If not, discard it. Because not every thought deserves your belief. Epictetus taught his students to treat their mind like a gate. Let in only what strengthens you. Keep out what weakens you. Your inner dialogue is the foundation of your character, and character is destiny. Modern life amplifies self-doubt. Social media, advertising, and endless comparison constantly whisper, "You're not doing enough." But the Stoic response is simple. Silence the noise, return to yourself. Marcus said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Every time you argue with yourself, you waste energy that could build you. Every time you criticize yourself, you plant doubt instead of discipline. And every time you believe your worst thoughts, you betray your best potential. The Stoics replaced self-criticism with self-command. Instead of saying, "I'm a failure," they said, "I made a mistake, now I'll improve." Instead of, "I'm broken," they said, "I'm learning." Instead of, "I can't," they said, "I'll train." That's not toxic positivity, that's responsibility. Because mastering your inner dialogue isn't about ignoring pain, it's about facing it with courage and reason. The next time your mind attacks you, respond like a Stoic. Don't argue with the voice, observe it. Don't react, redirect. And when you fall into the old patterns, remind yourself, the mind is a muscle. It strengthens through awareness, not avoidance. A calm mind doesn't happen by accident. It's built, moment by moment, thought by thought. You train it like a soldier trains for battle, through repetition, discipline, and endurance. Marcus Aurelius faced betrayal, war, and loss, yet his words still radiate peace. Why? Because he learned to win where it mattered most, inside himself. You can do the same. Train your thoughts. Guard your focus. Speak to yourself as you would to someone you love, with firmness, honesty, and respect. Because the war within ends the day you stop fighting yourself and start leading yourself. Control your thoughts. Command your mind. And you'll never be ruled by the world again. Rule number 7. Stop wasting time. You're dying every day. Every second that passes is gone forever. Yet most people live as if time were infinite, as if tomorrow were promised, as if youth were permanent. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." He was right then, and he's right now. You think you have years left, but you don't even have control over the next minute. You waste hours scrolling through lives that aren't yours. You spend days replaying conversations that no longer matter. You lose weeks waiting for motivation, for permission, for the right time. But the Stoics had no illusion about time. They saw it for what it is, the most fragile, most sacred resource you own. Once gone, it never returns. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think. He wasn't being dramatic. He was being real. Because every sunrise is a countdown, not to death, but to clarity, to urgency, to living intentionally. We fear death, yet we live as if it doesn't exist. We say life is precious, but we treat it cheaply, filling it with distraction, gossip, and trivial pursuits. The Stoic doesn't run from mortality. They use it as a mirror, to reflect what truly matters. Ask yourself, if today was your last day, would you still waste it being angry? Would you still scroll, compare, complain? Would you still hold grudges, chase validation, or argue over opinions that won't matter in a week? The Stoics didn't measure life in years. They measured it in clarity, discipline, and peace. A long life means nothing if it's wasted. A short life lived with purpose means everything. Seneca said, "While we are postponing, life speeds by." That's the truth no one wants to face. You don't lose life all at once. You lose it moment by moment, every time you procrastinate, overthink, or escape into meaningless distraction. And distraction today is more seductive than ever. The modern world is designed to steal your attention, because attention is power. But the Stoic mind is disciplined. It asks, is this worth my time? Does this build me or break me? Each moment spent unconsciously is a moment surrendered to mediocrity. But when you guard your time, you guard your life. This doesn't mean becoming joyless or rigid. It means becoming awake. It means saying no to noise and yes to presence. It means treating every hour like sacred ground. The Stoics lived with urgency, not panic. They didn't rush, they prioritized. They didn't try to do everything. They focused on what mattered most: character, duty, and peace of mind. Imagine if every morning you remembered, this could be my last sunrise. Would you waste it being anxious about opinions? Or would you live it? Fully, gratefully, purposefully? The Stoics called this awareness memento mori, but not as fear, as freedom. Freedom from pettiness. Freedom from delay. Freedom from the illusion of later. Your time is shrinking, and that's the greatest motivation you'll ever have. So stop waiting for the perfect day. Start now. Live now. Do the thing that scares you, that matters, that lasts. Because death isn't coming someday. It's already walking beside you, reminding you to live. Rule number 8. Seek depth, not distraction. We live in an age where people know everything, except themselves. We scroll endlessly, consume constantly, and yet feel emptier than ever. The world has never offered more information, and never produced so little wisdom. Seneca warned, to be everywhere is to be nowhere. He didn't know about smartphones, but he saw the same disease, the restless mind, running from itself. Today we call it productivity. The Stoics called it slavery, to impulse, to stimulation, to noise. Every moment you spend distracted, you trade depth for shallowness. You scatter your attention so thin that nothing meaningful can take root. You skim through books but never absorb them. You chase goals but never stay with them long enough to master anything. Marcus Aurelius practiced the opposite: deep presence. He trained himself to focus on one thing at a time, fully. When he worked, he worked. When he reflected, he reflected. He didn't rush to the next thing. He lived inside the current one. Depth isn't about doing more, it's about being more aware of what you're doing. It's not measured in achievements, but in attention. And attention, the Stoics knew, is the rarest and most powerful currency of the human mind. Epictetus told his students, you become what you give your attention to. Look at your day. Your focus reveals your future. If you feed your mind distraction, you'll become scattered. If you feed it discipline, you'll become powerful. Depth demands discomfort. Because to go deep, you must stop running. You must face the boredom, the silence, the resistance that comes when you sit alone with your thoughts. Most people never do. They mistake stimulation for satisfaction, a hit of dopamine for true meaning. But meaning grows only in stillness, in the quiet hours of reading, reflection, or creation. That's where wisdom lives, in depth, not noise. The Stoic life isn't about isolation. It's about intention. You can live in a chaotic world and still keep an undisturbed mind, if you choose to engage deeply instead of drifting mindlessly. Ask yourself daily, am I living deliberately or just reacting? Am I feeding my mind or numbing it? Am I mastering my tools or am I their servant? Depth makes you rare. It gives weight to your presence, power to your work, and peace to your soul. The world will always try to drag you back into the current, the endless scroll, the next notification, the constant noise. But the Stoics stand still in the river, calm, grounded, unshaken. Go deep. Read slowly. Think quietly. Live intentionally. Because the deeper you go within, the less the world can disturb you. The Stoics never promised that life would get easier. They promised you would get stronger. And that's the quiet revolution waiting for you. Not in books, not in quotes, but in the daily discipline of living these truths. Because philosophy means nothing until you embody it. You can read Marcus Aurelius 100 times, but it means nothing if you still explode in anger. You can quote Seneca every morning, but it means nothing if you still waste your time. You can admire Epictetus, but it means nothing if you still serve your impulses instead of your principles. The Stoic life isn't about perfection. It's about practice. Every day is a test, to stay calm when provoked, to stay grounded when praised, to stay focused when distracted. You fail, you learn, you rise again, stronger each time. Epictetus said, "Don't explain your philosophy. Embody it." That's your challenge now. Not to talk about change, but to live it. Don't just listen to these rules. Train them. Train them in the small moments. When you're tempted to argue online. When you reach for your phone instead of your purpose. When fear whispers, "Not yet." That's where transformation happens. Not in comfort, but in choice. The Stoics believed that greatness begins with awareness. Awareness of time, of thought, of emotion, of death. And when you become aware, you can no longer live unconsciously. You start to see how precious your attention is. How rare your focus is. How sacred your time truly is. Stop chasing peace. Build it through discipline. Stop chasing motivation. Replace it with systems. Stop waiting for the world to calm down. Calm yourself. Because the Stoic doesn't wait for the perfect moment. They create it, through reason, restraint, and relentless self-command. Life will test you. People will disappoint you. Circumstances will challenge you. But remember, calm is your superpower. Patience is your weapon. Discipline is your freedom. The world doesn't need more loud people. It needs more still people. More thinkers. More doers. More souls anchored in virtue when everything else shakes. So from this moment, stop just surviving. Start leading your mind. Start living by principles that don't bend with mood or trend. You don't need to control everything. You just need to control yourself. And if you do that, truly do that, no power on earth can move you. That's not just a quote. That's a way of life. Now, go live it.